Coming from mobile, can't pre-type, bear with me. Me 2002, 19-year-old, directionless Berg, still living with mom. She's got money, buys house out in the sticks. 2-story with basement, 3-car garage, not bad. Move in, things are cool first night. Begin setting up my room upstairs. Discover crawlspace entry for attic. Decide to investigate. Open up. Crawl in. Was a little door about 2.5 by 4 feet. Tiny window I couldn't find, but could see from outside illuminating room. Runs full length of the house north to south. East walls floor to ceiling covered in dry erase board. Loaded with drawings. Clearly made by children with what appeared to be permanent markers. No idea how old the drawings are. Best guess is 2 or 3 kids. Normal stuff, cars, family, rocket ships, each other, mom and dad, and one weird figure, always drawn completely black. Short legs, long arms, long hair, no face, just a black circle. Going from north to south, figure becomes more common, larger, more prominent, closer to the family, but always behind. Always the same features though. Yeah, this isn't creepy or anything. JPEG. Aside from that wall, room is 100% bare, just a layer of dust. Leave, set it up, put dresser in front of it, play video, and try to forget. Middle of a second night, hear a weird sound from upstairs. I crashed on the couch watching TV. Sounds like something bouncing and rolling from north to south on the second floor, on hardwood. Only hardwood floor upstairs is crawlspace. For about 3 hours it goes north to south, then south to north, then back, then stops. Go to sleep anyway, convincing myself it's wood settling with no weight on it because I'm a skeptical idiot. Night 3, hear it again, with something else accompanying it. My ears have to be lying to me, if. It's fucking feet. Bare feet, small ones, running after the bouncing sound, that I now realize I recognize as one of those ultra bouncy rubber super balls. Next morning, open crawlspace to investigate. There are fucking footprints in the dust layer. Not even half the size of my size 13 boots that I was wearing when I was here yesterday. But only one set, moving north to south, then south to north. Basically a perfect loop, only other tracks are mine. My face went. Close up crawlspace, put dresser back, play video. Hear bouncing noise start again, hear feet again. 2 sets now. Second set sounds heavier, larger person, close to my size, 6 foot, 170 at the time. Fast, chasing after smaller feet. Same pattern, north to south, south to north, repeat. Super bond noise is firmer now, like it's being thrown instead of just being bounce rolled. Put in earbuds, jam the OG Metallica, ignore. Tell mom when she gets from work. She's naturally skeptical too. Next night, nothing happens, no sounds, nothing. Starts up at the crack of dawn, 3rd set of feet, lighter than second, accompanying the first. Try to ignore. Sound stops, resume video on living room. Suddenly hear something coming down the stairs, bouncing. Cat decides this is an excellent time to suddenly become completely insane. Poofs out to the size of a basketball and begins growling and hissing at the stairs. A motherfucking super ball comes bouncing down the stairs and I hear tiny footsteps run away from the top of the stairwell. Again, my face went. Mid-July in Iowa, nearly 95 degrees out if I remember correctly. AC is off because broken. Massive cold draft now coming from upstairs. Cat fucks off to the porch, yelling and screaming like he's being eaten. Pick up and stare at Super Ball. Looks old as fuck. Chunk missing out of it. Take outside, throw in dumpster. That night no sounds, nothing. Garbage pick up the next day. Silence for a week. Sounds start again one night. All 3 sets of feet. Super Ball. Officially freaked but more angry. Mom hears them too. Goes upstairs, tears open crawlspace. Footprints fucking everywhere in the dust. 3 distinct sets of little kid footprints. And one that looks like Shaq has been in our attic. Barefoot, 4 toes. Missing pinky toe, larger than my boot. Way too fucking spooky for me. Seal crawlspace, spend 20 minutes caulking the door shut to make sure it stays that way. Go back downstairs. Hear footsteps behind me running across the hall. Look back. The fucking super ball is at the top of the stairs. My face went. Slowly back down the stairs. Sound starts again about 30 seconds after I sat down, but quieter. Only the lighter feet and ball. Decide to check something. Turn on upstairs light that illuminates the top of the stairs. My face when the fucking ball is gone. Go stay with my aunt for a week because fuck this. Mom says noises stopped after I left. Come back. They start within 5 minutes of me getting home and getting my stuff unpacked from aunt's. Hear loud thud from the crawlspace door. Nah fella, I ain't opening that shit.mp4. Then hear ball bouncing off the wall at face height. Over and over. Hear it hit the wall, then the floor, then pause and repeat. Ballsy moment I say, hey, play quieter please. Sound stops dead, and nothing for 3 days. Morning of last day, sound starts again. Just a ball, no feet, the silence. Suddenly hear bouncing noise again, but now it's coming down the stairs and hitting the walls on the way down. But nothing is coming down the fucking stairs. Happens over and over for probably an hour. Remember this next shit vividly. Playing in TFT singles weekend tourney. Give me that fell guard. Game starts. Hear massive crash from upstairs. Sounds like shit is flying everywhere. Then the bouncing. Power in the entire house browns out for 2 to 3 seconds. So much for the tourney. Head for the stairs, scared as shit. The ball is at the bottom of the stairs, degree me, like hello mortal plaything. Pick it up. Go upstairs. My dresser is in fucking pieces. And the door to the crawlspace is knocked off its hinges. Room is easily 15 feet across. And there are pieces of my dresser enclosed against far wall. My face went. Sprint downstairs, outside, hurl ball into field behind home, turn around and go back inside. Window the crawlspace in plain view, completely black. Couldn't make out finer details because nearsighted, like a 3D shadow blocking out the window. Watch as it slowly moves away from the window. Find my nuts, head back inside. Cleaning up dresser, picking my shit up because I'd rather live with my aunt than this. Have to be right by crawlspace entrance for this. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Ball rolls out of crawlspace, like it shouldn't be 60 yards deep in the field I just threw it into. Nope.avi. Hear breathing in crawlspace. Come on Pookie, let's burn this motherfucker down, .rar. Grab shit out. Force mom to leave with me. Take cat. Go to aunt's. We go back next day to finish getting shit and out. Why are there fire truck stop is? Fire in upstairs. My room in crawlspace destroyed. Investigator blames faulty electric. Get shit? Out. Never return. Next person that bought the land tore the house down after 2 months. Probably not as good as the rest of these, but here's mine anyway. It's one of the reasons I started believing in the paranormal. Be 17 years old, 1993, in the middle of Nebraska near Sand Hills. We just had Christmas at my grandparents' farm in the middle of nowhere. Like the next neighbor was about a mile away, middle of nowhere. Christmas was cool there. We got the entire extended family together, and there was like 40 people in the house exchanging gifts, singing songs, doing the type of shit white people did on farms in the US in the 90s. Everyone goes home except for me. My grandparents were really old, and my grandfather could barely walk. My grandmother could walk, but it was more of a shuffle, and she couldn't climb stairs. Family needed me to spend about a week taking care of my grandparents. No problem. I love old people, and I love my grandparents. Grandparents go to bed. I go upstairs to go to bed, but I'm not tired. I chill, listening to my cassette player. It's how we listen to music, before computers and MP3s. Listening to Nirvana's Nevermind, and trying to go to sleep. Really happy because I love the solitude and my grandparents' farm, and I love my family. I was basking in the fields that were left over from all the people in the house. I hear someone come upstairs, but think nothing of it because people were going up and down the stairs all day. This person opens the attic door and goes in. All of a sudden it hits me. Shit my pants.jpg. I'm the only person that should be in the house that could actually climb stairs. Holy fuck, someone broke in. Now my grandma taught me to be a badass. I've literally seen this woman blow the fuck out 2,000-pound bulls that were giving her shit. She was like 100 pounds. The motherfucking bull never fucked with her again. After she did that, she looked at my 9-year-old ass and said, "Never be afraid of anything." Here's 17-year-old me remembering that. Remembering my grandma and grandpa needed me to step up and defend them. I wasn't going to back down from shit. If someone broke into the house, I decided they were going to have to kill me before I would let them hurt my grandparents. I get up, grab my uncle's baseball bat that was in the bedroom. I opened the attic, turned the light, and I was about to fuck some shit up. Side note, the attic was always creepy as fuck. I never played in there and always avoided it as a kid. I ran roughshod over the farm and every building but that attic. Fuck that attic. It was always cold, even in summer. And the house didn't even have air conditioning. It was fucking creepy. Back to the story. Adrenaline was pumping. I was ready to kill. I've always trended toward the fight side of the fight or flight response anyway. I was kind of looking forward to a fight at this point. I opened the attic door. What the fuck? No one's in the attic. Move some stuff around to see if someone's hiding. Still don't find anyone. Fuck it. They must have gone downstairs. I checked the rest of the upstairs rooms. No one there. Head downstairs with bat in hand. By this time, Grandma had shuffled into the living room and I turned the lights on. She wants to know why I'm making all the noise. I tell her someone's in the house. Grandma doesn't look excited at all. She just says, "Go back to bed. I'll tell you about it in the morning." Chills run down my spine.png. I don't believe her. I check the porch. Turn on the yard light. Go outside. Pitch black. Have a flashlight. Wind blowing. Check the tree line. Check behind the house. Nothing. No one at all. Not even tracks. Check the kitchen. Check the living room. Check in on my grandpa who was sleeping. Take a shit and piss because I was downstairs anyway. Check on Grandma. Ask her again how she knew no one was inside the house. Again, she says, "Go to bed. I want you to be able to sleep," and refused to tell me anything. I decided to trust her and make sure the doors are locked again. Then go upstairs. Took me like 4 hours, but finally go to sleep at like 3 a.m. Wake up the next day. "Grandma, what the fuck happened last night?" She said she hasn't told anyone about it, but there are ghosts in the house. She said she didn't want to say anything because she was worried we would think she was going senile and put her in a rest home, what we used to call assisted living. But she said since I saw it, and I didn't, I just heard it, that she felt like I should know. She made me promise not to tell anyone. I did, and didn't, at least until she died. She said she would often see an old, stern-looking man with a brim hat looking at her at the foot of her bed at night. There was always a weird glow around him. She usually just pulled the covers over her head and prayed the rosary until the man went away. She also said that when she would spread sheets on top of the bed, that they would come to rest upon the outline of a child, like a child was under the sheets, and when she picked up the sheets, the child wasn't there. She said she often heard noises coming from the attic in the night, but no one was in the house. This was a common occurrence. She told me if I heard it again, to pray the rosary, and I did every night for the rest of the stay when I went to bed. That was it. Never heard it again, but I remember this shit like it was yesterday. When they died a few years later, a neighbor bought the house and demolished it. I miss that farm and I miss my grandparents. But I'm kind of okay that the house isn't there anymore. The house was built around the 1900s, and someone once tried to put an apple orchard on it, but apples didn't grow well in the sandhills. So my grandpa tore all the trees out in the 1940s. I know my grandparents' first child, my oldest aunt, died in the house when she was 2. I think the child that my grandma saw was her. The old dude? I think that was the guy that committed suicide on an adjacent property during the Great Depression. My grandpa and grandma found his body. They eventually bought his farm and made it part of theirs, but his house still stood pretty close to theirs. They used it for storage. It's also possible the old ghost guy could have been the guy that built the house and planted the orchard around the turn of the century. I was raised in a haunted house and recently sold it after my father died. I wanted to share several experiences I had throughout my life, where I experienced the house in 4 phases. I'm not alone in these experiences, as both friends and family, as well as external parties, all experience things at the home. The house itself isn't old. It was built in the late 1960s, on land that back in the 1600s was a massive farm estate, then left to overgrow back the forest. The house is several miles from the Conjuring House in Burrillville, Rhode Island, something I only learned in college well after the movie came out. The 4 phases of my life's experience in the home were: young, birthed at age 7, which ended as we had to live outside the country, where we had renters living in the home for several years. Teen, 12 to 16, our return, was quiet, though there were some instances. Young adult, 17 to 20, the most active. Adult, 25 to 30, the most recent, which involved caring for my dying father. Young, the most striking memory I still have involved an incident when I was young, about 5-ish. I remember being scared of a corridor, this comes up later, which my mom took for being the hallway. The room I was in was the smallest in the house, and I remember hating it as a child. I remember making weapons out of Lego and hiding them in my room to fight the shadows. My mom thought I was being creative, though in retrospect, I know it was something else. Another vivid memory comes from a dream I had that I still remember clearly. The dream started in a pitch black night. No stars, no moon outside. The only light came from the lawn where a massive bonfire burned, with several natives dancing around it. I wandered out and spoke with the chief. He had an elaborate headdress, who told me the darkness was always broken by the light, or something similar to that. He told me not to fear the corridor, but that it was also not safe. Outside of those two experiences, I don't remember much, but stories from my mom and siblings reinforced later stories I have, which I remembered more clearly. My dad never spoke about such things, nor did he really acknowledge things. Teen. We moved away when I was young, and returned right when I started 6th grade. I had not experienced hauntings at all in between. When we moved back in, small things happened here or there, but it got worse with the young adult phase. It's always when things started happening outside the house. It started with things going missing, then turning up. Like, I would drop something on the floor and it would vanish. I could tear the house apart and find nothing. And then a day later, it would be on my desk or laid out on the desk. One summer, when I think I was in 7th grade, I was in the habit of staying up all night and sleeping all day. The house didn't have AC, it was too damn hot to function some days. One night, my family was asleep. When I started hearing walking around upstairs, where my parents slept, my bedroom was on the ground floor. I assumed it was my parents, except it was really late at night. I thought I was in trouble, so I turned everything off. The walking did not stop. It was like pacing back and forth. I got worried and walked to the stairwell to listen. Were they sick? Nothing, and it stopped. This continued a few more nights, and I asked if they were sick. They knew nothing about anything, and assumed I was delusional from staying up all night and being dehydrated. Later, I would know the ghost inside would do that all the time. Outside, things also got weird. Lights began to appear deep in the woods behind our house, which were several tens of acres wild. They looked like campfires in the distance. We started to assume that they were people camping back there. My older sibling later confided with us a story where she was back there camping with the Boy Scouts. About half a mile in, when in the middle of the night, they heard something walking around their tent in the middle of the night. They were scared it was some sort of psycho and started yelling, but it did not stop. Eventually, it ran away. One more fun incident occurred before my 16th birthday. There was another night incident. We went out for dinner and came home to the house completely locked up and all the lights on. At first, we assumed someone was robbing the place as we never locked our house. We opened the door and the place reeked of cigars. My parents did not smoke. Otherwise, nothing was missing or broken. Later that night, all the lights popped on again and the cigar smell returned. My dad excused it on the old wiring and had an electrician come out. This then bumps us to the young adult time. Our family was away on vacation when we had a small fire in the basement, which destroyed the basement and first floor. Because of it, we lived out of a hotel for nearly a year. That began the really bad times for us, young adults. I remember the first night in the new house very vividly. My dad was staying at the hotel as he had to work, and we were waiting for the furniture to be delivered. That night, I camped out in my room in a sleeping bag. My mom was in the living room, as a bunch of the stuff was packed in the otherwise undamaged upstairs. That night, we heard the walking again. This time, it was running, back and forth like someone was chasing a cat or a dog. My mom assumed it was the new drywall settling. A few days later, she had the curtain guy come in to install curtains during the day. He left halfway through, as they both were hearing running and banging upstairs. He asked my mom if there were people working up there, but she responded there was no one home. It was then, even she would admit, that odd shit happened up there. As a note, Grandpa lived up there for a while before I was born, though he didn't die in the house, nor did he even die in the state. She said, however, she kept smelling his cologne. Another early incident involved my mom and I watching PBS, waiting for my younger brother to get out of school so we could go to the mall. I came home from high school via the bus, and there was an hour between dismissals. We heard a slam upstairs. I went up to their bedroom. The culprit was one of my dad's shoes on the other side of the room. My mom said the shoe should have been in the shoe caddy. It legit sounded like someone tossed it. We then heard a plink from my dad's office, and inside it was ice cold. This was in September, so the temp was extremely noticeable. We promptly left and went to the mall. A bad experience was also the most religious. I was asleep post-school and had been alone in the house. I awoke to my mom and brother coming home from soccer, and awoke to see my closet light on. I didn't go to sleep with it on. On the floor in the closet was a crucifix and a kitchen knife wrapped in a white pillowcase, with both showing from the top like a bundle of flowers. I confronted my mom about it. I'd recently stopped going to church and assumed it was her fucking with me, but she said she did not do it. Around the time as well, my brother and I continued to hear the running when my parents would go out and I would babysit him. It was always preceded by a scraping noise, like a dining room chair against a hardwood floor. One night, It was really bad, as it sounded like something was running into the walls. As a side note, my mom said she one time experienced children laughing up there around this time, like giggling all around. She would only sleep upstairs if my dad was home. When he was away at this point, she would sleep on the living room couch. The outside ghost also started getting more odd around this time as well. Unlike tropes, the basement was actually the least haunted part of the house. My siblings and friends basically lived down there, a la Stranger Things. One night, my brother awoke me and a friend in a quiet panic. Outside, walking by the window to the backyard were glowing beings. Think of the elves from the Lord of the Ring films. They would just walk around the house. My brother's friend, who was with us, then told us that he had a dream of his dead grandfather, who told them they would not come inside the house and to be careful around them. We watched in horror for 10 minutes, and then they vanished. Needless to say, the kids never came over again. We would also see footprints circling the house in the snow around this time. My dad would say they weren't footprints but patterns of random melting snow. One particular bad night involved me being alone in the house after graduating from high school. My parents left me alone, going to New Hampshire for the night with my younger brother. I awoke at 2 a.m. to hear yelling in the house, like people arguing. I was freaked out and called my parents. They didn't respond because of the time. I called a friend who drove over. He came in through the basement, where I was. We both heard yelling still. It was incoherent belligerence. He said the lights up there were all on, but he didn't see/hear anything. We went outside and sure enough, the sound stopped, but the lights were on. We ended up staying out in the yard for the rest of the night. In the morning, my parents called, and I lied and told them it was an accidental call. Around this time, we didn't have Wi-Fi, only wired internet. If I wanted to surf or download music, I had to go upstairs where the router was. It was like someone was staring at me whenever I was up there. Just freaky as shit. My parents later recalled similar feelings. They said only happened after the restoration post-fire. My parents sought out electricians and priests to help. The electrician was to see if there was bad wiring, causing electromagnetic fields fucking with us. There was no wiring issues found. The priest had come over to bless the house, freaked out over the closet in my parents' bedroom, the one where my dad's shoes were, which was also my grandpa's closet back in the day. Finally, after I moved to college, there was one more incident I remember. At this point, the running around, lights being on, cigar smell, and things going missing was incredibly common at this point. It was late autumn, around Thanksgiving. My parents had a massive blow-up fight. I hated when my parents fought. The stuff happened more and more when that happened. Both of them screamed. When my brother and I both heard a loud thud and glass shattering noise. My dad had a massive glass penny paperweight on his desk. Both of my parents stated in the middle of their fight, the paperweight levitated and flew into the wall, shattering. My parents were both white as ghosts. Adult. After graduating from college with a grad degree, I moved home with my wife to care for my dying father. My parents divorced at this point, and my younger brother was a loser who was barely attending community college. My wife had heard stories about the house from myself and my family, and was looking forward to experiencing it. She now never wants to live in that haunted house again. Upon returning, all the old shit was going just as hard. My brother's friends remarked about all the odd shit, and one witchy girl tried rituals to banish the evil spirits. My wife's cat would act odd in the house, seemingly following people not there, watching the wall. I know sometimes that means a mouse, but I doubt it, given we never heard mouse noises, and jumping up and running away like someone was walking towards him. My wife reported constantly feeling like someone entering our bedroom, air pressure changes, and then feeling like something standing over the bed. She hated it. My wife's grandmother died, and obviously she was devastated. That night, I had a dream where grandma was talking to me in the front yard. Despite it being winter, the dream yard was flowery, a la mid-spring, with a warm breeze. She told me everything was okay, and if my wife wanted to see her, she just needed to enter the corridor. My wife bawled at the description, but didn't know the corridor reference. Asking my mom, she recounted how I was afraid of the corridor as a child, and would recount how I would see the door in the bedroom filled with light. The wall with the door was in my childhood bedroom, where I'd put a massive bookcase. The wall was directly between my parents' bedroom closet. Obviously, whatever it was came from that area. The running was bad, and we started hearing yelling more and more as my dad's health dwindled. Things would go missing. The house being all locked up with the lights all being left on became a common occurrence once a month, happening if we all left to eat dinner out. One night we were outside with a friend's bonfire, and my wife was in a trance saying there was something in the woods staring at us. My brother's friends was in a similar state and both were adamant we go inside. There were 4 others of us, we decided to extinguish the fire and go inside. Now 1 minute later, we started hearing coyotes yelping and yipping right where we were. My dad died, and it only got worse for the final 6 months we lived there before selling. The spirits did not like that we were leaving. One night, I awoke to my brother and father yelling and screaming at each other. Of course, my father was dead. My wife heard it too, and was concerned if someone was attacking him. My brother was in the basement with a friend, high on weed and watching anime. There was no one yelling. We began packing up the house, and odd things got worse. Things went missing more often. The running got to stomping, etc., etc. The worst of it occurred the final night. Nearly everything was moved out, and I was performing the final pass before the new owners moved in the next afternoon. I swear, I heard an eerie, angelic chorus and silver trumpets. I'm not very religious, but it was the oddest sensation I've ever experienced. I bawled my eyes out, obviously in a bad state, given dead dad and moving out from childhood home. There was also more. My wife and brother arrived then, both had work, and too felt the strangeness of everything. As we finished cleaning everything out into the pod and dumpster and the house was empty, we turned off all the lights. The blackness was inky and unnatural. We booked it out of the house as we both pulled out of the driveway. The fucking lights turned on one by one. We sped off. The next morning we arrived to meet the realtor and the lights were off. I've not been in the house since now, 6 years later. I've never experienced these things in other homes. There was definitely something there.